Hey guys, welcome to the Black Republican Theory. My name is Terry, your host. I actually just got off of work, and on my way driving home, I thought about, I should do a video on dealing with and overcoming OCD and anxiety, particularly while in law school. So I've dealt with OCD and anxiety for, I say, since I was probably a teenager. And the earliest signs of it would be compulsive cleaning. Um, as a teen, as a teenager, wanting to keep everything like spick and span clean. Once I got to college, I dealt with a really stressful relationship. In addition to college just being an overall environmental change for me. I was one of maybe 23, 24 black guys on the campus of 2,000 students. Not only that, but there were several different racial incidents that happened throughout my first year, but really my entire time there. And not only that, but I was going to school during the time of the Black Lives Matter protests, the Trayvon Martin situations, and various instances that kept happening like that. So I was still coming into who I am as a person and as a man, and particularly a black man in this country. And I also, was dealing with, just that college itself was a completely different beast than high school. High school for me was going to one of the best high schools in Baltimore City. But also, the work that was given on a high school level is different than the work that's given on a college level. And it's more intense. My mother, and really my parents, I am blessed to have 4 parents. That is 2 biological parents and then my step parents. But my mother in particular did not have, she did not allow or did not have any room for slack. Okay. And so she expected a lot of her children, and she had high expectations of her, and I'm thankful to my mother for having those high expectations, because we have set out and achieved. That being said, I think that I pushed myself very hard to achieve and very hard to succeed at certain things. And in doing so, I gave way to whether it be mental health, whether it be physical health in terms of weight gain, whether it be emotional health in terms of not caring about certain things or caring too much about other things. What really started to change the dynamics was being in, going to counseling and seeing that my counselor would often talk about, okay, well, if you have XYZ challenges, it's best to do like cognitive behavioral therapy, which means like you just confront the problem head on. And, I did that, and it works sometimes, right? The other thing is that, like, once you add more onto your plate, or you're eating unhealthy diets, etc., you're just undoing the progress that you were doing beforehand. So for me, I went from undergrad to a graduate program, was able to get my MBA, and then from an MBA, I went into a law degree program, law school. And law school was a completely different beast than undergraduate. Just that an undergraduate had been a different beast than high school. Law school was completely subjective, and it adds on to your anxiety in terms of the grading. There's no like math, where the answer is going to be what the mathematical answer is. Law is based on interpretation, and you hear the question, you hear the answer. It depends so much. And so, for example, for me, I had a professor who, my first semester, I had him for two identical, well, they were complementing courses. One was a writing course to my civil procedure course. And so the writing course, I passed it with flying colors. The actual civil procedure course, I did not get a good grade. And so when I asked him about it, he said, well, I can tell from your answers and from your writing on the other course that you know the material. I just did not like the wording you used for your for the actual civil procedure course, but I know that you know the material. So I gave you this grade, deal with it. That was like a gut check, right? Gut punch, gut check. Well, um, I added on law school, which was a completely different beast, and all of the grading and everything else was completely subjective. And even with studying, even with working hard, even with trying to know and do and try your best, you still get second guess. And then when you add on maybe what some might consider superficial stress, but I know was completely real, when you add on the addition of being a black person in these places and spaces, you start to feel that there's an added weight on you to do and be the best. So for me, although my law school was a predominant, my school, the university was predominantly black, the law school itself was not predominantly black at all. It was predominantly white. And so I would say, okay, well, education's education. It shouldn't matter who's teaching education. Shouldn't matter who's sitting next to you and beside you. But you look at your classmates, and sometimes from the conversations that you end up having, I was lucky enough to get a concentration in real estate law. And on the course towards that, I took classes in local economic development, environmental law, um, real estate finance, and then also criminal law was another course that's kind of relevant but wasn't necessarily for the concentration. But you get to see in the conversations that you have the perceptions that some of your classmates and peers have of people either in Baltimore City, people from Baltimore City, and black people. And this all ties into like the greater scheme of how the law and policy has been used to hold back and oppress people through government, and those with big money who use government. But it kind of like really opens your eyes to how your peers might view you. And I also happen to be in most of my classes, I happen to be either the only black guy and the only one of the only students from Baltimore City. So or one of the only students from Baltimore City who like was born and raised here. And so that added on to a different layer to excel. And I put that pressure on myself. It has affected not only me in terms of my mental health, my physical health, because many of the times I stopped working out. I started eating more. I became a stress eater, but I also had developed, like the anxiety that comes with it all. I got married in law school. I had a child in law school. I lost my brother while I was in law school. I had significant family changes, and in terms of moving and stuff. All of these were major life changes. That all happened in law school that also added on to the stress. So how does one overcome this stress? one overcomes this stress by, number one, you have to, in law school, you have to just try your best. Know your craft, know what you want to do, have an action plan of how you want to get there, get to and from. What are you coming to law school for? It's to get a degree, get out, so you can go sit for the bar. Have times that you block out, such as this is my study time, this is my free time, this is my note card time, etc. This is my outlining time. You don't want to wait till you get to a final exam to actually learn your outline or learn more on the exam than you did the entire semester. So that requires you to actually study. So you need to create some study time. Next thing, so I guess I'm on number 2 or 3 right now. Next thing is you want to make sure that you have the family support. I was lucky enough that while my wife was also in school, she was also supporting me in terms of, having the house in check or whatever other, things that she wanted to take lead on, while I might have been the one working, to pay for everything. She was taking care of everything. And I openly let my family members know, hey, if you have something that you want to say to me, this is exam week, I'm not going to be available. You're going to have to reach out to my wife, right? I luckily have parents that are able to help me with help me and my wife with our child. So, if we have exams, we'll be like, okay, look, to my parents, hey, we need help. And so they would come and help us with the baby. And, that was something that's less off of our plate. Next thing, make sure you have your money in order. I was lucky enough to always have had a job throughout, my time in school. But if you're going to go full time, which I recommend, but don't recommend. I recommend that people stay in the workforce and go to school part-time, but it's harder to do it that way. If you are going to be a full-time student, you're going to probably take out loans, and you're probably going to take yourself out of the workforce for a couple of years, but you might gain a lot of connections. Now, if you are working full-time and going to school part-time, you can make some connections, but you're not going to have all of the same club activities and all those other opportunities unless you have a flexible job. Now, I was able to participate in the student bar and the real estate law and all that other stuff, organizations. So I was lucky in that regards, but you got to have your money in order to do those things. I think the last thing, or I guess this is probably number 5, is don't be afraid to talk to your professors and try to get that academic support. Your family can take care of the emotional support. You can take care of the emotional support. But reaching out for that academic support, and they might have resources, especially in law school, to help you out with the emotional support that you might have. Your school might have counseling that they offer. Now, my school did not, but I am lucky enough to be a part of my faith that says, you can lean on counseling here or there. And so I would do that. A lot of people don't have those certain beliefs. A lot of people are afraid to engage in counseling. I have gone to counseling. I recommend everyone goes to counseling. I also recommend people get involved in some faith organization and find a person that you can, lean on for support as well. Because these things are important. Your life is valuable. Your time is valuable. Your money is valuable. And you just don't want those things to be wasted. And sadly enough, in this world, everything is disposable. It's like a microwave society. So we tend to do that. But if we just lean in a little bit more, we can succeed. And so that's my notes on law school and overcoming anxiety in law school. You want to excel the best you can, but you also have to take care of yourself. You have to, create time for yourself. Also block out, certain things, and have discipline. All right, guys. So that's the Black Republican Theories podcast for today. I know it was completely unpolitics related, but it was something that needed to be said because it was on my mind. All right. Thank you, guys. Bye.